Welcome back. I'm your host, Roger Stone, and you're at the right place. That's right. It's the War Room. Many InfoWarriors are asking me about tomorrow's election and what I see based on a 40-year career in American politics. The polls, of course, were dramatically wrong in 2016, and the polls today, according to the New York Times and ABC News and many others, point to a Democratic victory in the House. Could the polls be wrong, many ask me, as they were 4 years ago, or 2 years ago, pardon me. I think the answer, unfortunately, is no. First of all, it's important to understand that polling is an exact science, that any poll is only valid in the episecond in which it has been taken, and that polls can vary in their results based on the wording of the questions, the order of the questions, the size of the sample, whether the sample has been properly drawn, meaning whether it is a virtually accurate reflection of the real electorate in terms of black and white, men and women, Hispanic and Asian, Christian and Jewish, and so on. And therefore, in 2016, many of the polls were wrong, largely because they were based on a turnout model that was incorrect. They were based on an incorrect assumption of what the makeup of the electorate would look like. Donald Trump brought out a much larger rural vote than had ever been seen in the country. Minority voting, African American and Hispanic, was slightly depressed. It's not surprising that fewer African Americans turned out for Hillary Clinton than would turn out for Barack Obama, a historic figure in their party and in the country. And therefore, these allowances have been made in many cases in the turnout model that is being used in this year's election. That's why I think that the predictions of a Democratic House may be correct. I am more pessimistic than my colleague Owen Schroyer, who is bullish. We bet earlier a stake, which I would gladly buy for him if he is correct and the Republicans maintain control of the House. I would like to be wrong, and I could be wrong, but I'm deeply concerned about the impact of two things on tomorrow's election. One, of course, is illegal voting, and the fact that the Trump Justice Department has done nothing whatsoever to restrict illegal voting. In my home state of Florida, for example, you can register online, you can just show up. There's no requirement for voter ID, and therefore you can bet that literally thousands of illegals, non-citizens, will vote in what are very close elections for governor and the U.S. Senate. Also is the impact of the internet censorship that we have seen. Donald Trump's election would never have been possible without a vibrant and robust alternative media. Joining us now from Orlando, Florida, one of my favorite journalists and activists, Jacob Engels, the publisher and editor of the Central Florida Post. You can look for Jacob on Facebook, but if you look for him, you won't find him. Why? Because he was banned only last week. How convenient that he would be banned just ahead of this election. Jacob, welcome to the War Room.
Thanks for having me on, Roger.
Well, you're at ground zero right there in Florida. I know that you went to an Obama rally last week, that you actually confronted the former president of the United States. And as I understand it, you got kind of roughed up by these tolerant liberals at the rally. Tell us what happened.
Sure. I had been following Mr. Gillum on my truth tour for several weeks, holding Truth to Power, and I had to go undercover at this rally to get past security and to not be detected. We made it to the front row, and as soon as Obama went on, there's actually a African-Cuban man in front of me who started yelling at him about not doing anything for the Black and Latino communities. He was shouted down. As soon soon as the crowd calmed, I then shouted that Obama belongs in jail, because he does. He oversaw and allowed illegal surveillance of a presidential candidate of the United States using the state for political purposes. He should be investigated, he should be found guilty, and he should be held accountable for those actions.
Well, you're absolutely right about that. That's what Peter Strzok meant in his text message when he said Obama wanted to know everything, and I guarantee you he did. That's why his chief of staff, Valerie Jarrett, wrote a CYA memo about the election, because they knew what they had done. At least in Watergate, the misguided individuals who broke into the Watergate Democratic National Committee complex were private citizens, misguided as they were, and the bugs they tried to place never actually worked. What Obama did was far worse. It was an abuse of power, using the authority and the enormous capability of the state to spy on Donald Trump's campaign to hijack that election. So, Jacob, tell us about Florida. How do you see the governor's race? How do you see the very close U.S. Senate race there?
Well, the governor's race, Andrew Gillum, a socialist candidate for governor, who is very suave, very well packaged, very quote-unquote cool, if you will. A lot of people have labeled him the next Obama. He's run a very aggressive campaign against Ron DeSantis, a congressman who is very pro-Trump, has been very solid on the Russia investigation, but who hasn't shown the signs of a serious campaign, in the sense we don't know where his ground game is. We don't know what he's actually doing in the streets. Gillum has the media on his side. He's got the Hollywood leftists on his side. He's got the censorship police on his side. But he's also running a very well done campaign of volunteers and people on the ground. So I think it's going to be hard for Ron DeSantis. I hope not to have a socialist who identifies as a Democrat as governor of the great state of Florida. That means more taxes. That means more regulations. That means less freedom. But it's going to be tough for the Republicans to hold this governorship. For the Senate race, you have Bill Nelson, who has been there for 40 years. He went to space once, and I don't think he ever came back. The guy is brain dead. He does nothing in the Senate. Nobody knows who.
Truly an empty suit. I mean, he really is an empty suit. With a lot of cosmetic surgery.
Yes. But on the other hand, we have Rick Scott, who some Republicans are concerned about his attack on the Second Amendment by raising the age to buy firearms in the state to 21. That is an affront to our constitutionally protected rights in the Second Amendment to bear arms and to protect ourselves. So we'll have to see how far that plays. Rick Scott has never won by much when he's won the governorship. So if he does win against Bill Nelson, I don't imagine a blowout. If Bill Nelson wins, it would not surprise me either.
All right. You're on The War Room. I'm Roger Stone. We're listening to Jacob Engels. We're going to go to a break here in about a minute. But with a minute to go, Jacob, has his mishandling of the medical marijuana issue hurt Rick Scott? You've got 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Oh, tremendously. It's hurt Rick Scott. People have to realize that over 70% of Floridians, Republican, Democrat, Independent, Green Party, whatever your political affiliation, voted for the legalization of medical marijuana for our veterans, for people who have debilitating illnesses, for children who are suffering from grand mal seizures and otherwise. And Rick Scott has, time and again, worked to thwart the people's will on medical marijuana and stopping smokable marijuana, which is the more affordable, cost-effective way. Not everyone can afford a vape device. These are very expensive devices. So I think that does hurt him among a lot of people across the political spectrum. We're not in the 60s era reefer madness. He seems like he wants to be...
I'm going to have to stop you there. Jacob Engels, the publisher of the Central Florida Post. Go see it online. I'm Roger Stone. You're at the War Room, and we'll be right back.
Stress is a natural part of life. Work, family, friends, and everyday accidents can put a lot of strain on the body and your mood. Don't let life weigh you down. Happies is a powerful mood and stress support formula that has your back against life's daily inconveniences. Made with ancient ingredients used for thousands of years, Happies can help you take back the day. With our powerhouse formula, Happies can be an important part of your daily supplement routine. With poor diet and the constant on and off of your work life, it's more important than ever to support your body in the fight against stress. With powerful ingredients combined to help support the mind and body, Happies helps support during stress, promotes overall well-being, and helps support your mood. Don't live your life bogged down. Help your body overcome the effects of daily stress and pressure today with Happies from InfoWarsStore.com.
It's really hard to have the energy at the end of the day to still get to the gym or to go for a run or go to the park or heck, even take your dog for a walk. Believe me, I know. I spend hours in front of a screen and then hours in front of bright lights every day. But thanks to Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsStore.com, I still have that energy. There's no way I could have the energy at the end of a long day to fight back against the chemicals in the food and water, to fight back against the modern day lifestyle with the screen time and the extended hours, to still have the stamina and endurance, energy and drive to get to the gym, get to the park, and get exercise that you need for your health. So go to InfoWarsStore.com and get Super Male Vitality before it's gone. This is actually our last run of Super Male Vitality. So I want you to experience Super Male Vitality before it's too late.
Unleash the super male in you with Super Male Vitality from InfoWarsStore.com.